and welcome back to this. If you've been to this channel before, you probably know that my builds usually aren't very relevant in terms of when the games they're from released. But today we will change things up a bit. In this video I will be building the knife from the Resident Evil 4 remake that isn't even out by the time I'm making this video. And like most other knives, this one starts out as a sketch. You can see I didn't leave anything to chance with this one. I basically measured everything. Now you usually don't see me during the template making process. 12.6 here. But I thought, since this is a very picture frame size template, I might as well show you what I do. This doesn't include the several hours it took me to trace all the measurements for the sketch, but this is also quite an important step of the entire project. Now here we have an angle, but the blade doesn't seem to be a straight line, so I will just freehand this. And then I will freehand this again when I'm at the belt sander. The blue color makes it easier to see the scribe lines later. Since I'm using the backside of the blade and the... oh, you can't see it. The nub end of the tang as reference for my distances to mark out the fuller in the middle of the blade, I had to do some quick math to actually find out the measurements, because the way it was, I couldn't really work with any of the measurements on the main side. And by doing it like this, I can guarantee that the scribe lines will be on in the exact same position on both sides. Oh, there isn't really good angle to film this, but what I did, I clamped those two pieces on the blade to restrict the way the sanding belt of the power file can move left to right, because these have a tendency to
spring out of alignment. And with that, I will basically just carefully grind in here. And that way I will try to get the fuller in. Whoops. Trying to do this so that you can actually see something. What I'm doing right now is marking all those little serrations. Now I am center punching all those little serrations. And now I'm drilling the holes for the serrations. Now we just cut out those little pieces and then the serrations are done. And after repeating all those steps for the hole in the blade, don't know why that's there, the blade is now completely shaped, except maybe the blade bevels, but just like last time, this piece is so thin that I don't really get anything out of doing them right now. So the blade is now ready for heat treatment. As with the last knife build, I will 3D print the handle, but this time not from flex filament, but instead from PLA, regular stuff. So, as per usual, we will put the mesh in the background. And now, what we do this time, since the handle is round, for whatever reason, I will use this piece, go to the center point. The diameter of the handle pieces is 28 millimeters, so we will go 14 millimeters up here. And the width of those is... Let me hammer on my calculator for a second. The entire width, length, height, or whatever you will want to call it is 19.25. So I guess I will 19 17 point... Oh, I don't think I can go to such tiny increments. Okay, so we will make it 17.3. Now we will go in 2 millimeters deep. Then do the remaining 2 millimeters. Zoom out. Grab this one. Now the angle is more important than the distance. 90 degrees. And we go back to the beginning. And now we close this. Then we press this one. Choose a different axis. And there we have one of our segmented pieces for the handle. I will need 4 of those. But they're not done yet, because I have to include a handle hole. Now it works. And now it doesn't work. Maybe we have some weird... Okay, just the orientation of the piece is a bit weird this time around. Okay, length is... I will put the length as 20, but even though I only need... What was it? 19.3. The thing is I see. I'll show you in a second. Okay. Oh yeah, that one doesn't work either. So yeah, that's the thing. This part here doesn't allow for 1/10 of a millimeter increments, so I can never get it perfectly into position. Even though I believe last time it worked. Yeah, now it works. Weird. This one was always weird. But since we put the size to 20, wrong 20, now it works. So now we can press the OK button. And we have one of our segments. Now there are two more things I need to mention. One is that the filament I'm using is white, mainly because I don't have any in that weird spatter tan color, but I will just paint it afterwards. The other thing is my original plan was to make the handle out of wood, which would have been perfectly fine as well, but amongst the many reasons why I didn't do that, the main one is that I'm just extraordinarily lazy, and this is much easier for me than to make the handle from wood. Here we have our handguard piece that just barely fit on this leftover piece of brass I had lying around. And now I will carefully cut that out, because if I mess up here I don't have any more brass lying around. Would be bad. Now that the handguard piece is shaped, I can drill the holes for the tank to fit through. After polishing, this piece is now crazy shiny, but by the time the rest of the knife is done, this should have aged a bit and then look quite right. For the pommel, I'm using a special method that I first thought of while making the burial blade. It's basically so that I can get this profile piece made. It would be impossible for me to make this shape if I had more metal behind it, so there will just be welded together like this. Maybe a bit more straight than that. And that's how the pommel will be done. As I was preparing the heat treatment process, it started to hail a little bit. Yeah, you can see that pretty well. Now, but that's not the problem I want to talk about. I did some measurements with the blade, and the problem is the fuller has gotten quite thin. I think we're under 1 millimeter, and that might be a problem. I'm worried that it might burn through during me trying to harden the blade. Now to get this inside and then get my camera inside. And this is a couple of minutes after I'm done with that. Why though? The blade's now heat treated, and the next step is to polish the entire thing. And I decided that I will start with the fuller. Well, this is a problem. While grinding, I noticed this tiny spot in the fuller where it broke through. Now I still had hopes that it was just one tiny spot, that I could just splotch a bit of weld on it, but the entire area around it is quite thin, so yeah, that's a problem. Because now this piece is completely ruined, I can't use it anymore. Now I could either scrap the entire project, or I try to redo the entire blade with this tiny piece of steel that's still left. It's important that I use this one, because it's the same piece as this, and all the fittings are already made to the dimension of the tank. Now, there's one more problem with that. It's a bit too short. Now, what to do? I guess I will just forge the tang out a bit, forge the tip out a bit to get the length I need. The tip is now to shape, so next I will just draw out the tang a little bit more to get the length I need. I probably won't film much more of that because my battery's dying, and well, there are way better forging channels out there than so that I don't think you really need to watch me do this. If I'm wrong and you want to see me forge more, don't know, leave a comment. Other than that, I will show you once the blank is done.
Now that all the holes are drilled, the new blade is ready for heat treatment. But first, coffee break.
I have reactivated my old budget file guide. With that I can at least try to get a clean plunge. Now, contrary to last time, this knife doesn't have a parallel back and front, so I can't just stand here lazily and move it like this. I will have to try and very carefully keep the right angle for the blade bevel. There's one other issue with the fact that I had to reforge this blade, is that the slot for the guard now isn't really fitting. I guess obviously now that the handle's not on, it's rattling, but also while the handle was on, it was rattling. That's why I created this collar piece, which will be squeezed in between the blade and the handguard, and then it hopefully doesn't rattle. There is this one piece that isn't on the knife in the original 3D model. Whoop, almost dropped it. In the original you have the butt end of the knife with just basically this hole is just a dead end, just flat down there. But I decided to throw everything off the table. But I decided to make this little pommel knot that screws directly on the tang of the knife once I've cut the thread. And then it will hold the entire thing together, because I have trust issues when it comes to glue. Coincidentally, the last step on this project as well is to gun glue the parts. First off, I will use some degreaser to get all the oils off the pieces that need to be blackened. This is for one the pommel knot. This thing offers much resistance to being degreased. And then we have the actual pommel. Next step is the actual bluing solution. Bluing Bath Black Devil. I also just realized that the English name is on the bottle. So, my most minimalistic approach at getting this stuff out of the bottle. Do you see what I'm doing? You can't see. Great. Now they just get hit with some bluing oil and then they're done. And now the only thing left to do is the final assembly.
If you're seeing this, you made it to the end of the video. So you might as well just leave a like. Or, if you like video game blades in general, you can also subscribe to the channel for more soon to come content.